I don't believe that they ran out of steam. You know, the fitness levels are terrific, you know, as are Cork's. And they had a very defined game plan which served them excellently against Tyrone. And today, I mean, I agree with Macaulay that at half-time you would have put your house in Dublin. You know, because that system works perfectly. Cork struggled very, very badly. At no stage did you think that Cork were able to unlock it.
So where did it go wrong
they had no inside forward, for example, who was capable of unlocking it. They hadn't a target man on the edge of the square. He made a slight difference, but really, the penalty was a disaster. I mean, for some reason known only to himself, I mean, he decides to hurl himself at Ross McConnell, decides to hurl himself at O'Neill. When there were 3 Dublin defenders there, the goalie was in position. It didn't look as if it could be a goal. I mean, he bowled him over. And I mean, after that then, of course, Dublin still came back. It looked as though again Dublin were going to win the game.
Though, Joe, in fairness,
he hurled himself at him. Jeez, he hurled himself and he threw him onto the ground. And I mean, the point is this, that an absolute staple of that defensive system, when you decide, like Jose Mourinho's teams, for example, and like Tyrone when they won their 3 All-Irelands, right, we're going to defend and we're going to absorb and soak up and absorb and soak up. The linchpin of that is discipline, absolute discipline. You've got 3 bodies there, so you don't foul the fella. You get your hands up, you make sure the ref knows you're not fouling.
Like Munster rugby, yeah.
And you then turn him over. As it was, 1-3 in the last 10 minutes. To give that away in circumstances where at the stadium, you really felt, I mean, I was sitting beside Tony and we both agreed that unless Cork managed to conjure a goal from somewhere, but the Dublin were going to win the game.
The linchpin of that is, discipline is a huge part to play, but it's very, very tiresome work. Yeah. And I think a lot of the frees that Dublin gave away were due to tiredness as much as anything else.
Especially in the last 5 minutes.
It's about discipline. The discipline fell down where they got tired, and that defensive system that they do have requires huge, huge energy. And Cork today were the fitter team. And I'm not saying that Dublin were unfit, but Cork had huge reserves of stamina today.
And Bernard Logan couldn't keep going the way he was going. He must have ran 20 kilometres.
We'll look at that in a moment, but you're giving credit to Cork for their physical strength and fitness there. You were also impressed with their mental strength.
I was, because, you know, even in Kerry, coming from the 2009 All-Ireland final, there would be an accusation that Cork were a bit flaky, a bit brittle. All during the game today, Donald O'Connor being a prime example here, he misses a very easy free. If that was last year, Donald O'Connor would have wilted under it. The next 3 or 4 kicks he gets, he nails them. Each one of them a pressure kick. This was a pressure kick, particularly given the delay coming into it. He tucks it away. You can take a better penalty. I was given out about him a couple of weeks ago, kicking a penalty over the bar against Roscommon, and he answered that perfectly today. These are not difficult frees, but it's the timing of them.
They're high pressure frees.
They're all to bring it down to 2 points, to put them a point up. Again, you can debate all you want about the merits of the frees being given, but you're sitting there, it's a lonely enough position on Donald O'Connor. This was a difficult enough free, a high pressure free, puts them ahead.
And he's a footballer who's had a very tough time of it. You know, people have, including myself, have questioned, you know, his moral strength when it comes to these games. And it did take a lot of guts, like the penalty. And when he stood up to take the penalty, a lot of people around me said, somebody else should take it.
Before, Joe, I'm finishing out games, we're saying they don't have the killer instinct, they lack ruthlessness. Here, Derek Kavanagh, who's a player you wouldn't suggest would be doing this, finishes out the game. And look, we've been given out about them all along, saying they don't have ruthlessness, they don't have killer instinct. When they smelled blood today, they got it.
But there's a reality here, Dara. You know, what Tony says is absolutely right. It was self-inflicted when it came down to it. You know, I mean, I believe that Cork could win this All-Ireland now, whether they want to or not. You know, there's a sense that this must finally be the year.
All right, well, let's look at the deficiencies then that, Tony, you refer to. Let's take the Dublin tackling first of all.
Dublin tackling was ferocious from the very start. They're a very physical team. Some of it is good, some of it is quite poor. Here we are in the start of the game. They get around the Cork players, they win the ball back and let it off. A lot of their tackling is raw and inexperienced. There was absolutely no malice in it, really. Okay, as we'll see later on. Good tackling gives the ball away.
Should there be malice?
No, there shouldn't be, Des. There shouldn't be malice. Here we are. He takes him out stupid free to give away. He did shoulder, but he shouldered him in the side. It's not side to side. He got him in just below his shoulder.
And there's no need to whenever there's so many bodies back.
John Meskill comes in. They get around him. Now, they don't foul him. There's nobody but a stupid hand in here. And rightly so, the referee gets it down the field. Now, high ball in. This is the penalty. Breakdown. Very good move by Nicholas Murphy. And look, there's no doubt about that. That's a bear hug. It's a kind of a rugby tackle. There's forward momentum. He should have stood up. There was players around. There was no need for him. Look at that. Look, there was 3 players around. It was ridiculous, really.
All he had to do was stand up. And, you know, and they'll have worked on that exhaustively throughout the year. And that's the terrible shame of it.
And in the last...
I mean, you're talking about exhaustion. Tony, let's be fair about it. I mean, these boys were training 3 times a week earlier on in the year. There was no sense of exhaustion that I could see. I mean, all they had to do there was stand up and put their arms up. You had indiscipline primarily from Ross McConnell and Jared Brennan.
Cork team are training that amount for 6 years. These are reserves.
I understand the point.
And the Cork subs that came on gave it a huge injection. O'Neill gave it.
More so than
Dublin.
Derek Cavan, Nicholas Murphy. They're all top players.
Yeah.
And we talk about Conor not knowing his first team. He has 20 players that he could mix and match at anyone.
Okay, let's talk. You felt at the end, in the latter part of the game, some of the Dublin shooting...
Yeah, it was poor. No, some of the Cork shooting was poor as well. Like Aidan Walsh and Noel O'Leary was poor.
Well, they were shooting from distance.
Shooting from distance because Dublin were there. But a lot of the Dublin shot selection was poor as well. And when they look back over what cost them the game, I think some of the shooting was poor. Now, Michael Shees did well on Bernard Brogan.
But
that was a good matchup. He put him under pressure. But a lot of this, here we see Brendan going in as well and shooting poor wide again.
But you see the first one you showed there, Tony, that was a classic example of the problem in the Dublin forward line, where Bernard Brogan had lost faith entirely in O'Gara. O'Gara was surging through, and the obvious ball was to give it to O'Gara. But Brogan thought to himself, well, I won't give it to him.
And this is the last minute of the game, 71 minutes, 57, Bastick just kicks the ball wide. That's unforgivable, really. You know, 1:15 to 1:13, they needed a score, possibly a point to make Cork come back, or a goal. It was on if he just left it off slowly. Like, they're inexperienced. Look, they've had a terrific year, Des. They had a brilliant year. But they are inexperienced, they are raw, but they've had a brilliant year.
I asked Dara earlier, you know, where can Cork move it on for the final or improve? And you feel they need to use the long ball a bit more?
There's so many areas where they can improve, and they will have learnt an awful lot. I mean, we've been saying it all year, the Cork's build-up is fairly laborious. And when they do kick long at times, I know this is an opportunity here for Patrick Kelly to kick a decent ball in. And there was another fella actually peeling off to the right of the player circle here as well, where we were expecting a ball, and it's just a bad ball in. Now, that might have mentally deterred them. There was a very early stage of the game that might have set the tone for the game, where he said, look, these long balls aren't working. So in the middle part section of the game here, they're just passing the ball around. Now, is it a case of some of these players out the field are deciding we don't have a ball winner inside, so we're not going to kick it in, or is it a case of there's too many blue jerseys in there? Sometimes you just have to make up your mind to get it in there, and it will pay dividends. Donogh O'Connor here under this one is not a good ball winner. So this is really demoralising for the guys kicking the ball in. I know there's jerseys around, there's blue jerseys around, but see what you get when you kick it into the right areas. It's kicked from the right areas into the right areas. It forces errors. And again, now there's one coming up here. This led to the penalty, obviously, but this is another long ball. Not particularly a brilliant long ball. Daniel Goulding, bare touch, really, from Simons. And I don't think genuinely this was a free, but the point is, it's landing in the danger area, and it forces the referee to make a decision. And, you know, I think Cork should do a little bit more of that and have faith in the long ball more. It might be a question of the outside players having faith in the inside line. And that only when Colm O'Neill came on did they have that faith, they realised that they have an outlet.
Ghosted in for the penalty.
They're big, strong lads. I was making the point today, which I think is absolutely right. That whereas Dublin were prepared to kick the ball long to Brogan. I mean, if Brogan had been playing where Daniel Goulding was, we would hardly have seen him today. Because there was very little coming in, and Dublin's screen was preventing anything coming in. I mean, and you look at Brogan whenever Dublin weren't playing the way they're set up now, to attack and to move the ball forward quickly. Against Kerry last year, against Tyrone the year before, people said, he's a flop, you know. He's a sort of a dandy, a good time player. I mean, and what you say is absolutely right. Those Cork boys are big lumps of men. Daniel Goulding's a big guy. You kick that ball in there, you're going to cause havoc. And this is something that they need to start developing. They're the only top team that I can think of who play with a 3-man full forward line instead of a 2-man full forward line.
All right, we'll be talking about Cork's credentials and their deserved place in the final again, but Dublin, sum up Dublin and their year. It might be difficult to move on again. Leinster will be very competitive next year. Hugely disappointing, obviously. That's the acute angle. But if they look at it and step back from it, it's been a year of huge progress. And a lot of the lads making mistakes today are young lads. Yeah. You look at Rory O'Carroll, Fitzsimons. They're all young lads. And it's been a year of huge progress. Tyrone have spent years perfecting this method that they have.
Well, they haven't. They came out in 2003, they won the All-Ireland. I'm not a great believer in next year. You know, we've been saying next year about Cork for years and years and years. You know,
but last year
from Dublin's point of view, the reality tonight is that it's a massive shame.
Well, they'll be disappointed,
hold on a second. The game was there for them. It was their game. That was the sense of it at it. You know, it was their game, and just for a couple of moments of indiscipline. You know, Dara's absolutely right. They have some raw players, and there's a lot to build on and all of that. But nonetheless, this was the time. It was a brilliant opportunity. It may never come again.
Okay. Tony, I'll leave you out of the man of the match on the basis of the Cork man. Darragh, give us 3 nominees for man of the match.
Well, our first, probably the best Cork player today was Patrick Kelly. Paddy Kelly had a fantastic game, ran himself into the ground, massive block at the end. Everything he did smacked of class today, and it was, you know, he's a guy who comes into for a lot of criticism for lateral passing, but he really played well for Cork today. Bernard Brogan, outstanding match altogether, you know, showed it was fearless, absolutely, and any wides he did have towards the end were probably as a result of ploughing along up front. And then, debatable, it might be a debate about this, but I'm going to go as third nominee for Donogh O'Connor for just sheer mental strength, coming back from his mistakes. Didn't do a whole lot from general play, didn't offer himself as an outlet, but he still nailed 1-5, 1-4 from play and kicked the first Cork score from play as well.
So, Joe, who gets the award then?
Well, the winner is Owen O'Gara. No, that's the winner. The winner was, well, it was obvious to everyone there. I mean, Bernard Brogan. We said, I thought during the week I was thinking about him. I thought that, you know, you think of Jimmy Keaveney, Barney Rock, the great Dublin forwards who have adorned the jersey. And I mean, this fella has proven himself to be one of the very great Gaelic footballers. There's nothing that he doesn't have. He's terrifically explosive and dynamic. He kicks off both feet. He kicks off balance. He kicks over his shoulder. And today, I mean, really, he carried the team and was...
He's probably front runner for Player of the Year.
Yeah, will it be the first time that we had a Player of the Year who didn't play in an All-Ireland final?
Well, does Kildare and Down men still have a couple of chances to make...
Very few better
going to
than
have to be exceptional from here on.
Sure?
Yeah.
Very few better than him.
All right, well, you're not picking it, are you? So we'll find out. Anyway, let's hear from the man of the match then. From St Oliver Plunkett's own row, it's Bernard Brogan.
Congratulations, Bernard Brogan. You're the GAA man of the match for this All-Ireland football semi-final. Philip McDermott, area manager, Ulster Bank, will present your trophy. And I suppose, Bernard, it doesn't in any way compensate for losing this match, but what a performance by Dublin, it must be said.
Yeah, it's tough to take. Really gave it our all out there. We worked very hard and we worked as a team, and really thought we had a good chance of winning that game. And till the last couple of minutes, we thought we were in there with a shout, and a bit of luck went against us on the day. And it's tough dressing room in there now.
I could well imagine, but you gave it everything. It was a wonderful performance, and only probably because of Cork's greater experience got them over the line, really.
Yeah, they've been there and done it before, and we haven't been in that position in a semi-final in a long time. Only a couple of lads have been in that position at the last 5-10 minutes of a semi-final, and it maybe showed out there today a bit of lack of experience on a couple of times. They got a couple of handy frees and stuff, but it's heartbreaking stuff. The lads worked Trojan work, and the year we put in, I thought we had a great chance, and I know Cork were going to be a difficult team, and they're such a good team. They're my favourites from the start, so we knew it was going to be tough, but we gave it our all out there, and the lads inside can be proud of what they gave, and we'll be back next year, that's a fact.
All right, then, well done to Bernard Brogan today. Well, competition time now. We've teamed up with Ulster Bank, proud sponsor of the GAA Football Championship, to give you a chance to win a fantastic trip for you and a friend to experience the sights and sounds of New York City, combined with the passion and pride of the GAA Football Championship. The prize includes return flights, 4 nights accommodation in a 4-star Manhattan hotel, close to all of the main attractions, and 2 tickets to see New York's first GAA Football Championship game of the season next May. To top it all off, we'll also give you $5,000 spending money. So for your chance to win the holiday and the cash, answer this. Which of these well-known GAA grounds is located in New York? Is it Gaelic Park,